Hi everyone, I'm CBS19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony with this evening weather update. We're coming to you on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and of course on CBS19 Plus. We appreciate you viewing here tonight. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and share to the YouTube channel. You can also share the Facebook page out to others so that they can get an update. We're going to go over a few things here this evening. One, we'll talk about tropics, meaning what's ever happening in the Gulf, and a low pressure area that's sliding our way this weekend that brings us a chance of rain. And we're also going to talk about the heat next week. Today, we thought it would get pretty hot. It did. It got up to 95. Something interesting happened as we had southwesterly winds move in. We actually got the air humidity in the air to drop a little bit. And so that allowed the temperature to rise to 95. It kept the heat index in check, and we never got that heat index, at least in Tyler, of above about 95 to 96 degrees throughout the afternoon. Right now, we've cooled back to 87. We have a light south-southeast wind. Key overnight tonight, very still and stuffy air. With the humidity, it's going to feel just like a steam bath out there, a sauna, if you will, in the overnight hours. All right, eye on the tropics, and it's really just this low pressure area. Barely has any tropical distinguishing factors or features to it. In fact, it doesn't even look like it has much at all. It just looks like a cluster of showers, a few thunderstorms, but notice its movement. It's from the east to the west, and it is beginning to move into southeast Texas and getting closer and closer to deep east Texas. So some thicker clouds there. If you notice today, we might have high cirrus clouds where they're blowing off of this little feature here as it continues to move back to the west. Eventually, it will begin moving to the north and then back toward the Atlantic and the eastern seaboard as we head closer and closer to the weekend. Still from the National Hurricane Center, 10% chance. It's not going to become Tropical Storm Dexter, that is for sure. Very loosely organized area of low pressure here. Just a couple of scattered showers throughout the evening. Those will increase and head into deep east Texas and southeastern Texas during the day tomorrow. You'll note just a few showers in deep east Texas, maybe as far north as Marshall, as far west, maybe as Longview. Doesn't look like those will make it to Tyler. There could be a couple showers to just kind of make it briefly to Tyler at some point Saturday morning up toward Longview, Henderson, Jacksonville, and then those will move away. And Sunday afternoon, we're back to sunshine, and whatever's left of that low has now moved over toward Atlanta as high pressure takes over. All right, it would have been, had this storm been able to get out, or that area of low pressure been able to get out into parts of the Gulf where the water temperature here in the pink, about 83 to 85 degrees. That's pretty warm, but again, it hugged the coastline. It never really got the center of that low pressure area over any open water to where we could get additional development. And so it just stayed just kind of a disorganized low pressure area. But 80 degrees or above is what you need for a hurricane. We certainly have that in the Gulf right now. In fact, all of the Gulf, all the way over into the eastern and western Caribbean, also conducive for a hurricane. Something else that we'll look for is the warm water depth. We want those 80-degree temperatures to go down to about 160 feet. That is happening west of Cuba, east of the Yucatan Peninsula, right through the central Caribbean, all the way over to Puerto Rico. Notice where that storm was. The water is cooler there. There's not much depth. I mean, it's 80 degrees, but if you go down a few feet, the water gets cooler. And so as a storm starts to bring up the water into its storm system, starts to evaporate some of that water into the storm. If it's cooler, it sort of chokes off that the ingest of the air into the storm, and so it kind of weakens or it stays about where it was. So that really helps to explain why we just didn't see a lot of development from that storm. Out here, closer to the Texas coastline, out in the central part of the Gulf, well, yeah, it's a little bit warmer. We do have some water that's going down to about 160 feet, just barely above 80 degrees. So that would be an area that we would watch for a better chance to have some tropical development. Also, what you need is some spin in the atmosphere. So we're looking at the atmospheric spin roughly at about 18,000 feet. You'll notice here, very disorganized again, just a little bit moving back toward East Texas Saturday. Elsewhere, not much else going on. There's no sufficient spin. I don't expect to have any type of development in the eastern or western Caribbean here, or at least over the next, say, 5 to 7 days. Areas of shear, when you have strong winds aloft, we have shear for thunderstorms in East Texas That helps the thunderstorms to turn and can lead to some larger hailstones. It can also lead to tornadoes. But when it comes to hurricanes, when they're shear, as the air rises and it changes speed or direction higher into the atmosphere, it tilts the hurricane or the tropical storm, and it tends to rip it apart, and so it cannot build vertically enough to really become a solid system. So instead, you get a cluster of thunderstorms kind of like we had. So we do have moderate shear throughout parts of the Gulf right now. That's expected to stay that way through the next several days. And again, I think that'll be a limiting factor on tropical development. We're looking here all the way through July 20th, so over the weekend into next week. Boy, there's a ton of energy. There's limiting factors again. There's plenty of shear. The water temps are right at 80 degrees, but the depth of that water not going down a whole lot except for a couple of spots. So maybe in the next week to 7 to 10 days, we watch the Yucatan Peninsula. Potentially, this would be a climatological hotspot for the development of some storms. So maybe there we'd get something going on. Meantime, if you are cruising from Galveston or New Orleans, or you're watching this from Tampa and you're headed down to the Yucatan Peninsula, perhaps down to Cozumel, Costa Maya, maybe all the way down to Roatan, or maybe you're heading over to the Bahamas, you've got fairly decent seas. The dark blue area would be wave heights of about 2 feet. You get into the lighter blue areas, now you're talking about a 3 to 6 foot wave. But overall, that's not too bad when you're on a cruise ship and you kind of see those little waves from time to time. At least they're not 10 footers. Then you start talking about some rough seas. Extended outlook going the 19th through the 20th. Not much going on. A couple of clusters of thunderstorms here throughout the Bahamas, maybe down toward Belize, Honduras. That's about it. Otherwise, it looks like we're going to enjoy some very hot weather. This is an interesting feature here on the 23rd. This area, again, where there's low shear, plenty of water temperatures that are a little bit lower, but expected to come back with the warming of the water, I think, over the week. This may be an area where we see another similar low to what we've had here last couple of days, spinning and headed into the same direction back toward Louisiana and eastern Texas. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, so here's your beach ball rating. If you're headed to Galveston this weekend, you've got really nice weather. You've got a wind out of the south, 15 to 20 miles an hour. It's a 4 out of 4 beach ball weekend with temperatures right around 90 Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Port Aransas, mostly sunny on Saturday, Sunday up to 87, and Monday 87 degrees thanks to that sea breeze. So a 4 out of 4 beach ball rating. Gulf Shores, partly cloudy, near 90 Saturday and Sunday. Monday a little hotter with a westerly wind up to 91. 3 out of 4 there, maybe an isolated shower. Looks like that data just changing on me here in the last couple of minutes. South Padre Island, 86, mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies, 4 out of 4, pretty good. All right, let's take a look at Destin. Saturday, 89, partly cloudy, mostly sunny, and Monday. So we got a 4 out of 4 beach ball rating on the Destin location, Gulfport. 87 on Saturday, 91 on Sunday, 92 on Monday. Just getting a little hot on the shoreline, so please be careful. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water and wearing sunscreen. So far, Andrea, Barry, Chantal, all tropical storms. We did not get Dexter out of this last upper level low pressure area and will not get Dexter. We are fairly early in the season now, coming through July 10th, maybe seeing an uptick here in the next couple of weeks. And then once we get into August, things begin to increase, finally peaking around September 10th. So if this season follows suit climatologically, we'll get closer to the end of August. We'll see more activity. Then we'll stay fairly active through about October 1st, and then slowly things will wind down until we get to the middle part of November, with the tropical season ending by late November. All right, satellite radar picture. A couple of things going on here. Follow the clouds. Big area of high pressure, just kind of swallowing up most of the southern half of the country. Little area of low pressure here, swinging through Louisiana back toward East Texas. Again, once this makes it into East Texas, makes the right-hand turn through Louisiana and scoots back toward the eastern seaboard, the upper level high will take over, and we are going to park ourselves in some hot, hot weather as we get the ring of fire to build around us. Thunderstorms, storm tracks, northern plains, Minnesota, through Chicago, over toward Washington, New York. If there are going to be any thunderstorms, they'll be up there. maybe an isolated thunderstorm somewhere in the area of red, but for us in East Texas, temperatures on Monday, mid-90s again. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 97 to about 98 degrees. How hot is your car? This is always a good reminder. Remember, beat the heat, check the back seat. We like to give those rhymes out so that we don't want pets or kids left in cars for any amount of time. In 10 minutes, when the temperature is as hot as it's going to be, the inside of that car can heat up to about 115. In 30 minutes, the inside of that car can heat up to 125 to 130 degrees. And when we get to 95 degrees after an hour inside that car, it feels like it's about 140. Just dangerous, dangerous conditions we'll be heading into, so please be careful. Here's your Baylor Scott & White Texas Spine Joint Hospital 10-day forecast. It is about a couple of rain showers the next couple of days, then building heat. Sunday up to 95, Monday and Tuesday we're up to 96. Morning lows are not giving us much relief at all. We'll have morning lows in the mid-70s. We're into the upper 90s next Wednesday and Thursday, and we are staying right there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll get new data in here in about a half hour in regard to the rain chances over the weekend and the heat. We'll update the 10-day forecast, the rain chances over the weekend. That's all coming up on CBS 19 News at 10 o'clock. Hope to see you then. Otherwise, have a great night.